video from December 2021 shows a Miami police officer and a man named Georges Auguste in a heated exchange.
Get your hands out my face. I'm in my property. You're on my property.
Don't touch me.
Hey! Leave him!
Yo, what up, y'all? It's your boy Rob coming back at you once again with another video. So before we get started, you already know what to do. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Smash the like button, share this video to all of your followers, and let's get it cracking. All right, so what we're going to be talking about in this video is what law enforcement has been up to lately. All right, and warning, it is sick. It is very sick. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go over a couple articles, we're gonna look at a video, and all in all, after you all watch this, after you all listen to all the information, after you all compare all of these cases to each other, what I want to know from you all is what law enforcement has been up to. Now, the reason why I say that is because every time you hear about a police incident, they always give the same speech. They always say this does not reflect the culture of the department. Now, I have a playlist on Blacklight Revelations 1 and Blacklight Revelations 2 labeled Police. Everybody should watch that playlist and comment about what you think on each of the videos. And as you watch this video, you'll see why. This is an article from Jewish Telegraph Agency, all right, and it's from February 14th of 2023. And what it says is an Israeli army jails soldier after a video of him beating Palestinian activist in Hebron goes viral. All right, so there's the situation right there. All right, and this video will more than likely get demonetized because I'm actually going to show the footage. So if you all are interested in contributing to the channel, which you're more than welcome to do, you don't have to do it through YouTube. All contributions are welcome and accepted. However, there's links that the bots put in the chat. Those methods are direct contribution methods. So if that's what you all want to do, because you already know that your boy is going to get a knock on this video, I would definitely appreciate it. All right, so now here it says a video of prominent Palestinian activist getting thrown to the ground and kicked in Hebron went viral on Twitter on Monday, prompting the Israeli Defense Forces to acknowledge the error and jail the soldier. The video was posted by Lawrence Wright, a New York staff writer on tour of the West Bank city with activist Issa Armo. The 38-second video shows a soldier grabbing Armo by the neck, throwing him to the ground and kicking him repeatedly. I never had a source assaulted in front of me until the day when an Israeli soldier who stopped my interview did this with Palestinian peace activist Issa Armo in Hebron, Wright tweeted. I can't stop thinking how dehumanizing the occupation is on the young soldiers charged with enforcing it. Armo is an opinions writer for the publications including The Forward and The Guardian. He gives tours of Hebron, the southern West Bank city that is a flashpoint for conflict owing to its large Palestinian population and small population of Israeli settlers. In addition to the cave of the patriarchs, the burial place of Abraham, Sarah, and other J patriarchs and matriarchs, which both Jays and Muslims regard as holy. I was detained and beaten violently by an Israeli soldier in Hebron, Armo tweeted. I was showing the famous American writer Lawrence Wright the Israeli occupation and apartheid in my hometown. Hashtag Hebron. All right. So now here's the tweet and here's the video, and let's check out what happens.
Don't touch me. Come on. Hey! Leave him!
I want an ambulance. I don't know.
What's the matter with you, guy? Are you so bored?
Hide the phone. Send the video to someone. Yes, please.
So that's wild. Kind of looks like over here in the United States. The video was shared well over 10,000 times on Twitter, and the Israeli Army Embassy in Washington, D.C. sent out a statement from the IDF acknowledging the error, saying that after an inquiry, the IDF had decided to jail the soldier for 10 days and reconsider his military assignment. In the statement, the IDF claims that Armo cursed the soldier, which Armo and Wright both dispute. As the video shows, the soldier did not act as expected and did not follow the IDF code of conduct, said the statement by IDF spokesperson Lieutenant Colonel Richard Hecht. The IDF will not hesitate, despite provocations, to preserve its ethics and morals, which it clearly doesn't have very many of. After the IDF statement, Wright posted multiple longer videos showing extended arguments between Armo and the soldier over a video that Armo, who frequently documents what he says is misconduct by Israeli soldiers, had taken. The soldier initiated the encounter. Armo did not curse or interfere, only asked that he call the commander. Nothing to justify the attack that followed, Wright wrote. The extended video do not show the soldier physically attacking Armo. In November, Armo was arrested and subsequently ordered by military court to leave his home for a week after he filmed the soldier threatening protesters in Hebron. The soldier said Ben Gvir is going to bring order to this place, referring to Itamar Ben Gvir, the far-right politician, then in negotiations to join the government in a leadership position. That soldier was also jailed for 10 days. Now, Israel's Minister of National Security, with authority over the country's police, Ben Gvir, who lives near Hebron, announced his support Monday for the soldier who is being punished over his treatment of Armo. I support the soldier who didn't stay quiet with all my strength, Ben Gvir tweeted. Soldiers need to receive support, not jail time. Sounds a lot like how the people here support the police after harassment and brutality of people that look like us. Speaking of people that look like us, and speaking of the Israeli army, what we're going to do is, since we just referenced that particular video, we're going to reference an individual who was trained by the Israeli Special Forces or the Israeli Security Forces and see if the Israeli Security Forces tactics rubbed off on that individual's police precinct. So now here it says Memphis police chief trained with Israeli security forces. And this is Chief Saralyn Davis, who also led the first police department in the US that swore off the exchanges. All right. Now, this is an article from The Intercept from February 2nd of 2023. All right. The death of 29-year-old Tyree Nichols at the hands of Memphis police officers last month once again ignited outrage over the violent, militarized nature of U.S. law enforcement and placed scrutiny on a police department's bloated budgets. Among the objections to policing that are being reviewed are criticisms of a controversial series of trainings and exchange programs for U.S. police in Israel. Scores of American law enforcement leaders have attended the programs where they learn from Israeli police and security forces, known for systemically abusing the human rights of Palestinians. So clearly, what it is that they train for is how to systemically abuse people's human rights, which they do a very competent job of here in the United States. Some of the Memphis Police Department's top brass, including current Chief Saralyn Davis, participated in the programs. Davis, who previously helmed the police department in Durham, North Carolina, completed leadership training with Israel National Police in 2013. While an officer with Atlanta Police Department, Davis also established an internal exchange program with Israeli police and coordinated department leaders' delegations to Israel, according to an old resume. We know without a shadow of a doubt that what takes place during U.S.-Israel police exchanges does nothing to keep our community safe. Iran Efrir, director of campaigns and partnerships for the progressive group J Voice for Peace, said, but the exchange refined and enhanced the militarization rooted in American policing with Israeli tactics and technology of occupation and apartheid that are being tested on Palestinians on a daily basis. By the time she became chief in Durham, Davis seemed to have changed her tune on such programs. The apparent coolness on police-Israeli relationships came following pressure from local activists and the national campaign to end U.S.-Israeli police exchanges. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Do you all remember any kind of national campaign to end U.S.-Israeli police exchanges? How many of you guys even knew about United States-Israeli police exchanges? Let me know about that in the comments section. At the time, Davis wrote in a memo that she had no intention to participate in or initiate an exchange with Israel, which prompted 2 Israeli volunteer police officers to sue her and the Durham Police Department for discrimination. So them folks using their hate crime hustle. A spokesperson for the Memphis Police Department did not immediately respond to a request to explain the chief's changed position on exchanges with Israel. Davis wasn't the only top cop in Memphis to have participated in the exchanges with Israel. One of her own predecessors, Larry Goodwin, also trained there as part of a Homeland Security International Conference. Goodwin, who is known for having introduced the Blue Crush predictive policing technology to the city, spoke about wanting to adopt some of the techniques he learned in Israel in Memphis. As The Intercept previously reported, the Memphis Police Department has a long history of surveillance, particularly of black activists. All right. We're going to try to incorporate some things here, Goodwin told reporters at the time. We're doing a lot of it, but there's still some other things we can do technology-wise. I picked up some very good information. Critics of the exchanges with Israeli security forces point out that partnerships allow for swap of worst practices. During these trainings in Israel, U.S. and Israeli officials visit checkpoints, prisons, airports, sites of well-documented human rights abuses against Palestinians, Efreri of the Jewish Voice for Peace said. Participants witness real-life examples of repressive violence, watching the Israeli military repress protests in the occupied West Bank and joining Israeli police patrols in East Jerusalem alongside the militarized fence blockading Gaza. Training, whether in Israel or at home, has done little to address the underlying problems of U.S. policing or to prevent violent police killings like that of Nichols. Most people who call for more training as a response to abusive policing have little idea what that really involves. Alex Vitale, a professor of sociology and author of The End of Policing, told The Intercept, the kinds of training police are given in Israel is actually part of the problem because it encourages a warrior mindset in police and exposes them to practices that would be unconstitutional here in the United States. All right. So now you can see the similarities to what the police officers learn in Israel to what is going on in Israel. Another similarity, what we're going to watch now is a video of an incident that took place, if I'm not mistaken, in Florida. Okay, so if you guys haven't smashed the like button yet, please make sure that you guys smash the like button. If you guys are enjoying this video and you think that other people should hear the message, make sure that you share the video out to your social media or send it to someone who you know is interested in this kind of content through a text message.
Also developing tonight, body camera video of a police officer choking a man during a confrontation is now at the center of a civilian investigative panel review.
That man was also dragged by another officer. Local 10 crime specialist Bridget Matter is live in Miami with what that panel recommended. Bridget.
It was the actions of 3 officers from an arrest back in December of 2021 that are under scrutiny by the Miami Police Department and the Civilian Investigative Panel, who say excessive force was committed and captured on body-worn cameras.
Hey, what's the badge number? Listen, what we're gonna tell you right now.
This video from December 2021 shows a Miami police officer and a man named Georges Auguste in a heated exchange.
The chains on my face. I'm in my property. You on my property. We got it started.
The officer, Sergeant Gary Sampson, grabs Auguste by the throat. That video and this one after the arrest of Auguste being dragged by Officer Benz McComb at a local hospital is now at the center of a Civilian Investigative Panel investigation.
The police department believed that the officer engaged in excessive force. We believe the same, and our panel will hear that information tonight as well, and they'll create their own recommendations and findings.
Rodney Jacobs, the executive director for CIP, says it was the Miami Police Department's Internal Affairs Department that brought this to their attention during a routine audit. The CIP report says, quote, Sergeant Sampson failed to document the fact he grabbed the male in the neck/throat area. And body camera footage captures Auguste dragged first by his arm and then by the handcuffs while the male's head dragged the floor. 3 officers are part of the excessive force and improper procedure investigation involving Auguste.
They found that in the review of one of their reports, it did not match what they saw in the body camera footage.
So that case was presented to a panel this evening, and the panel accepted the recommendations. Now it's up to the Miami Police Department to bring any type of disciplinary action against those officers if they choose to do.
So now the civilian panel makes recommendations, and then it's still up to the police department to punish itself. Let me ask you guys a question. How do you all feel about that method of quote unquote police oversight? Do you all think that it's effective, or do you guys think that it's a joke? Let me know in the comment section.
So we have asked them for comment and continue to wait for their response on that. For now, we're live in downtown Miami. Bridget Matter, Local 10 News.
So it seems like one thing that a lot of these police precincts have learned from their Israeli training is how to grab people by the throat. But let's see what a lot of police officers are doing when they leave the force. All right. In this particular situation, this former Oklahoma police officer decided to possibly sexually assault somebody. Okay. This is an article from Law and Crime, and it says former Oklahoma police officer accused of sexual assault, and he quote unquote disgraced the badge. This is an article from February 18th of 2023. Now here's my question. How does somebody like this disgrace the badge when there's so much evidence of people with the badge behaving and conducting themselves this way? All right. So now here it says 35-year-old former police officer in Oklahoma faces charges after police say he drove home drunk a woman from a casino and sexually assaulted her in a bedroom before her brothers walked in. Okay. Officer Cody Even Cheyenne Cackley of the West Siloam Springs Police Department was arrested on Wednesday. He faces a felony grape charge, court documents reviewed by Law and Crime show. According to a probable cause affidavit, the victim told police that she was at the Cherokee Casino in West Siloam over 80 miles east of Tulsa, Oklahoma with a friend on February 11th. She drank up to 10 beers and had called her brother for a ride home. While waiting for him outside, she said her and her friend were suddenly surrounded by a group of West Siloam police officers who told her she'd been accused of an incident inside the casino, the document states. They placed her in handcuffs and put her in the back of a patrol car. Okay. After a time, she said police told her the charges had been dropped and let her go, the affidavit said. She then asked Cackley for a ride home, thinking it was safe since he was a police officer. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where she made her mistake. If you guys agree that that's probably where she made her mistake, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't think that she made a mistake by doing that, then give me a thumbs down. But what you will find out is that in many situations, it's not necessarily very safe for you to deal with the police. And this is something that I've been saying for a long time. And for whatever reason, it just seems like it doesn't stick. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says, she told investigators she and Cackley flirted back and forth with each other during the drive, the affidavit states. Cackley told her he was going to turn his body-worn police camera off and walked the victim to her front door, which the victim thought was odd. She said the sexual assault occurred inside a bedroom and ended when her brother walked in. Surveillance footage confirmed she was highly intoxicated at the casino and required assistance to keep from falling over, the affidavit states. She had to be removed from the casino because of her high level of intoxication. Cackley said the woman was wasted, investigators wrote. Cackley initially told investigators that he didn't think she was drunk, but eventually admitted he downplayed her intoxication because he did not want to get arrested for what he'd done. The affidavit states, Cody Cackley stated that the victim had trouble remembering the events from early in the night and who she was with. Cody Cackley stated that he would ask the victim a question, and within minutes, she would forget the question due to her intoxication, according to the document. Cody Cackley admitted that the victim was very intoxicated during the time he was with her. Cody Cackley estimated her blood alcohol level was approximately 0.20, based on his experience with intoxicated people. The affidavit admitted he effed up and had disgraced the badge before breaking into tears and being arrested. All right. So here's my question for you guys. Again, we got to ask that same question. This isn't a culture when it comes to the police. If it's not a culture, then my question for you is, what is it? If it's not a culture, then why are these things so easy to find? Why are they so repetitive? Why do they happen so much? That's the thing that you have to ask yourself. Police officers, law enforcement are always involved in some kind of shade. They are very dangerous individuals who utilize their badge and their public trust to breach the trust of the public and serve themselves. Like this individual here, a fired Georgia cop who is accused of hiding the death of a 16-year-old girl who was found in the woods months after she texted her mom and never made it home. So now here's my question, ladies and gentlemen, and this is an obvious question that everybody can get down with. Why would this Florida cop hide the death of a 16-year-old girl? You guys think that something illegal was going on? And if you guys think that something illegal was going on, what do you think it was? A 22-year-old since fired police officer in Georgia faces charges of concealing the death of Susana Morales, a 16-year-old girl from Norcross, reported missing by her family late last July. Okay, Susana Morales and Miles Bryant, authorities with the Gwinnett Police Department announced the arrest of Miles Bryant, also of Norcross, on Monday, also noting that the defendant is charged with false report of a crime. Now, here's my question. How many times do we see these police officers either fabricating paperwork or just completely putting things on the paperwork that didn't exist? The charges against Bryant come less than 1 week after investigators confirmed that they'd found Morales' remains in a wooded area along Highway 316. On Monday, February 6th of 2023, shortly after 6:30 p.m., Gwinnett police responded to Highway 316 between Drowning Creek and the Barrow County line after receiving a call from a passerby stating they saw what they believed to be human remains in the woods, the police said in an update on the investigation. Detectives and CSI responded to the scene, and the Gwinnett Medical Examiner's Office took possession of the remains. Detectives are investigating the manner and cause of death of Morales. On the night Morales was seen alive, she texted her mom she was on her way home. She never made it. On Tuesday, July 26th of 2022, Morales texted her mom at 9:40 p.m. saying she was on her way home. At approximately 10 o'clock p.m., Morales had not returned home. A location application showed Morales walking on Singleton Road to her home from Windscape Village Lane between 10:07 p.m. and 10:21 p.m. Morales was last seen wearing light blue jeans, a yellow spaghetti strap shirt, and white Crocs, cops said. Between 10:21 and 10:26 p.m., Morales' cell phone indicates that her last known location was at Oak Lock Trace, near Steve Reynolds. Morales' cell phone continued to show being in the area of Oak Lock Trace until the cell phone died or was turned off. On February 8th, Gwinnett police confirmed the family's worst fears. Human remains found 2 days earlier between Drowning Creek and the Barrow County line belonged to Morales. Authorities said, as recently as January, police in Gwinnett said that the video evidence from Morales' cell phone indicated that she may have gotten into a vehicle while she was walking in the direction of her home. Authorities said the manner and cause of Morales' death remains under investigation. Concealing the death of another in the state of Georgia is a felony, punishable by up to 10 years in prison upon conviction. False report of a crime is a misdemeanor offense. Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office reviewed by Law and Crime show that Bryant was booked just before 5 p.m. on Monday. The defendant, reportedly expected to appear in court, was listed as in jail on Tuesday morning. Bryant is now a former officer with the Doraville Police Department, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution reported. The Post fired Georgia cop accused of hiding death of 16-year-old girl found in the woods months after she texted him and never made it home, first appeared on Law and Crime. All right. So again, this is a former officer involved in something very shady that led to somebody's death. So again, I have to ask this question. If it's not a culture, then why are all of the things that go down with these people, whether they're on the force or off the force, so similar? Okay. So now what we have here is something that I posted on the community tab of my YouTube channel, Blacklight Revelations 2. And the title of it is footage of a San Antonio officer shooting a dead 13-year-old boy. And it was released. And this is days after the grand jury declined to bring charges. So now, you know, what I find interesting is that I just don't understand why the guy would shoot a dead body. That's kind of beyond me. If anybody has any ideas, feel free to let me know in the comment section, and we will get into this article. It was reasonable for Officer Ramos to believe that Officer Espinoza was being threatened with deadly force, the DA says, by a dead body. Okay. The Bexar County District Attorney's Office has released video footage, accounts from witnesses, and 911 calls in connection to the fatal shooting of Andre Hernandez, who was 13, by San Antonio police. The office presented evidence to a grand jury, which chose not to put forward criminal charges against the officer, Stephen Ramos, who fired the shot that killed the teenager on June 3rd of last year. At the time, Andre was driving a stolen vehicle, a red Toyota Corolla, according to the San Antonio Express News. The footage released included a body camera video of an officer only identified as Espinoza, who was in a police vehicle that was hit by Andre. Dashboard camera footage also showed to the grand jury from the police cars driven by officers Espinoza and Ramos, in addition to still images from the body camera worn by Officer Ramos. In the footage, Officer Espinoza pulls his leg back into the car before his side was struck by the Toyota, pushing the door closed. Law enforcement has argued that the officer's life was in danger. On Saturday, the office of the DA announced that it wouldn't comment on the case as the grand jury proceedings are confidential. But in an 11-page memo, the DA says in a review of the shooting that it was reasonable for Officer Ramos to believe that Officer Espinoza was standing outside of his vehicle and was therefore being threatened with deadly force by the red Toyota as it accelerated towards him. These facts led Officer Ramos to believe that Officer Espinoza was being threatened with deadly force. Thus, he used deadly force to prevent unjustified harm to Officer Espinoza in accordance with the Texas Penal Code, the review states, according to the Express News. However, Andre's family, their lawyer, and an activist from the area argue that the Toyota wasn't moving with sufficient speed to put the officer's life in danger. They add that Officer Ramos would have been able to see several children were in the vehicle. Civil rights lawyer Lee Merritt represents the family. He said he's going ahead with a federal civil rights lawsuit on the family's behalf, according to the Express News. The DA documents states that for several weeks before the shooting, area residents had made complaints to law enforcement regarding gunfire, loud music, and people driving or standing in front of residences with guns visible. Residents took images and handed them over to the police community liaison. One photo showed the Toyota, which police found to have been stolen. The DA report states that the image includes the message, "Picture is red car, 13-year-old brother drives." Again, thank you so much. Please be careful pulling over any of these cars. They have no regards for any life other than theirs. Police got a number of 911 calls on June 3rd of 2022 from residents of Indian Creek, southwest of San Antonio, reporting that they had heard a number of gunshots after 1 a.m. It was one shot, two shots, and then a whole round, a caller said. "We didn't get to see the car that drove by because we closed the garage. All I can hear is just the bullets, or, the gun," another added. 3 officers were assigned to the call at 1:18 a.m. Espinoza, Claire, and Ramos. Officer Claire was only identified by his last name. The altercation goes on for about 10 minutes, the DA report states. At 1:22 a.m., the Toyota backs away from Officer Ramos's car. "Don't let him ram you," Officer Ramos yells to Officer Espinoza. Officer Espinoza comes to a stop, opens his door, and puts his left leg on the doorstop. "Let me see your hands," he shouts. Then he pulls his leg back into the car as the door slams when the Toyota strikes the vehicle. Officer Ramos gets out of his car and fires 1 round. "Shots fired," he tells police dispatch. Andre exits the car, moves towards Officer Ramos, and falls to the ground. "I'm shot, sir," he says. Officer Ramos checks the teenager's wounds, runs back to his vehicle, retrieves a medical kit, and starts to perform life support. Andre was pronounced dead after being taken to a hospital. DA filings state that detectives noted damage to both doors on the driver's side of the patrol vehicle and that the Toyota had a large amount of front end damage that was evenly distributed across the front of the vehicle. In his incident report, Officer Ramos wrote that he believed that Officer Espinoza was standing at the vehicle's side door of his panel, at the side door of his patrol car when the driver accelerated toward him. "At this time, I believe the driver of the vehicle was using his vehicle as a deadly weapon to attempt to kill Officer Espinoza," he added. "I fired 1 shot at the driver of the vehicle to stop the threat to Officer Espinoza." A witness who was in the Toyota with Andre, identified as MH, said that the Toyota struck the police car, but that the officer hadn't exited. The witness also told law enforcement that he was aware that the car had been stolen. The DA memo called the death of the teen a tragedy, but the document added that Andre's age was not known by Officer Ramos at the time, nor does it mitigate the threat to Officer Espinoza. Now, what I find fascinating about this article is that the article is headlined "Footage of San Antonio Officer Shooting Dead 13-Year-Old Boy Released." All right. Days after grand jury declined to bring charges. So maybe I'm reading this headline wrong, but what this sounds like is that he shot somebody who was already dead. And notice in the article, it doesn't give any account of that ever happening. So I could have read that wrong. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But interestingly, Lee Merritt, for whatever reason, is taking that case. All right. And speaking of lawyers and taking that case, how many people were aware that there's a corruption probe going on when it comes to the attorney general in Texas? If you guys were aware of that situation, give me a thumbs up. If you're not aware of that situation, give me a thumbs down. Now, here's my question for you. How does the attorney general fall into the criminal justice system? What's their job? What do they do? And what could be the outcomes of one of these individuals being corrupt? All right. Justice Department in DC taking over Texas AG corruption probe. Justice Department officials in Washington have taken over the corruption investigation into Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, removing the case from the hands of the federal prosecutors in Texas who'd long been leading the probe. All right. Justice Department officials in Washington have taken over the corruption investigation into Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, removing the case from the hands of the federal prosecutors in Texas who'd long been leading the probe, according to state prosecutors. The move is the latest development in the federal investigation into Paxton, who came under FBI scrutiny in 2020 after his own top deputies accused him of bribery and abusing his office to help one of his campaign contributors, who also employed a woman with whom the attorney general acknowledged having had an extramarital affair. The investigation of the three-term Republican is now being led by the Justice Department's Public Integrity Section, which prosecutes allegations of official misconduct against elected leaders at the local, state, and federal level. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Texas was recently recused from the complex case after working on it for years, an abrupt change that came within days of Paxton agreeing to apologize and pay $3.3 million in taxpayer money to 4 of the former staffers who reported him to the FBI. State prosecutors handling a separate securities fraud case against Paxton, Brian Weiss and Kent Schaefer, said in a statement to the Associated Press on Thursday that they were notified of the move. They referred all questions to the Department of Justice, which declined to comment. So now here's my question. Why would the Department of Justice decline to comment on something like this? It's not clear what prompted top Justice Department officials to recuse the federal prosecutors in the West Texas, but the move was pushed by Paxton's attorneys. One of his defense lawyers, Dan Cogdell, said Thursday he'd previously appealed to the agency officials to take the case out of the hands of the local U.S. Attorney's Office because prosecutors there had an obvious conflict. It was the right thing to do, said Cogdell. He said federal officials had not informed him of the move and declined to comment further. It's also unknown whether Paxton will face charges, though investigators in Texas who had worked the case believed that there was sufficient evidence for an indictment, according to people familiar with the matter who spoke on the condition of anonymity to Associated Press to discuss an ongoing probe. 8 of Paxton's senior staff accused him of crimes in 2020 after the attorney general hired an outside lawyer to look into an Austin real estate developer's claims of wrongdoing by FBI agents and federal prosecutors who were separately investigating the developer. Those agents and lawyers are part of the same federal prosecutorial district as the ones who came to investigate Paxton. The overlap was known to officials within the Justice Department and publicly reported on by AP within weeks of Paxton's staff going to the FBI. Nonetheless, the agency left the investigation to be led by a career federal prosecutor based in San Antonio, who was previously best known for winning a money laundering and fraud case against the Democratic state senator. The federal investigation of Paxton expanded in the years since his former staff told the FBI he was committing crimes to help the developer Nate Paul. All right, so now let me ask you guys a question. Do you guys see how the government and the people in the positions in the government work hand in hand with these people in the private sector to help generate money, while they sit there and tell you on the TV that they're pulling themselves up by their bootstraps and it's the hard work that they do that's making them all of this prosperity? It came to look at renovations made by Paxton's $1 million home, but was also drawn out as leadership of the U.S. Attorney's Office for West Texas had repeatedly changed. Paxton and Paul have broadly denied wrongdoing. So let me ask you guys a question. From everything that you've heard about this particular situation thus far, did these people do wrong? If they did, give me a thumbs up in the comment section. If they did not, give me a thumbs down. Over the years, Paxton has seen little political cost from the federal investigation and a separate 2015 securities fraud indictment for which he has yet to face trial. He easily defeated challenger George P. Bush in a contested GOP primary last spring, went on to decisively beat his Democratic opponent and secure a third term in November, and has filed a steady stream of legal challenges to the administration of Democratic President Joe Biden. The public integrity section has brought a series of high-profile prosecutions in the last decade. One of its former chiefs, Jack Smith, is now serving as the Justice Department special counsel, overseeing investigations of former President Donald Trump's retention of classified documents, as well as efforts by Trump and his allies to undo the results of the 2020 election. Although the unit has secured major convictions, it has also endured notable setbacks. The section was involved in prosecuting former Governor Bob McDonnell, a Republican, former Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell, a Republican, but the case was later overturned by the Supreme Court. The section also prosecuted former Democratic vice presidential nominee John Edwards, but a jury acquitted him on one count and deadlocked on others. The Justice Department declined to try him again. And you got to ask yourself the question, why? A jury also deadlocked in the case of New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez, prompting a judge to declare a mistrial. So what do you all think about that? And here's my question. Don't you think that it's very interesting that when it comes to crimes that quote unquote we commit, somehow there's never any mistrial, there's never any of these quote unquote deadlocks? For some reason, everybody always has the answer. There's never anything up for speculation. Do you notice that? If that's something that you notice, make sure that you let me know in the comment section. If it's not, let me know what it is that you do notice. All right. Here's something that I noticed. There's a lot of police officers who are lushes. This one is from Polk County. Polk County deputy loses job after DUI arrest. All right. A Polk County Sheriff's Office deputy is out of a job after being accused of DUI on Saturday. In a news release, the sheriff's office said Bartlow Police Department responded to a crash on Highway 60 near Main Street at 3:12 a.m. Officers determined James Peach, who is 29, was heading east on the highway before veering off the road and hitting a tree. Peach was driving his personal vehicle at the time of the crash and was not hurt. Peach was arrested under suspicion of DUI. His blood alcohol concentration measured at 0.153 while he was being booked into jail, sheriff's office said. In orientation, I tell everyone you are held to a higher standard than the rest of the community, and if you drink and drive, you will be arrested and lose your job, Sheriff Grady Judd said. That's exactly what happened. The sheriff's office said Peach would have been fired had he not resigned during booking. He joined the agency in April of 2019 as a detention deputy and had served as a deputy sheriff since 2022. Peach was released from jail after posting a $500 bond. What a punishment, right? So now, when it comes to all of these articles are what law enforcement has been up to. And for anybody that might be coming in watching just now, here's a warning for you. It's sick. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you guys let me know what you think about this in the comment section. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice, share the video out to all of your followers, and I will catch you all on the next video. All right, peace.